Hello, sixth graders. Welcome to sixth grade math, writing equations in two variables. Pause while you write the lesson title in your math notebook. Pause again while you write today's lesson objective in your math notebook. Today's objective is I can write equations in two variables and determine whether an ordered pair is a solution of an equation by completing practice problems with 100% accuracy in multiple attempts. The Arizona State standard that we'll be addressing today is create a real-world context using dependent and independent variables by creating a table, graph, or equation. Let's take a look at some of the vocabulary we'll be using today. An equation in two variables represents two quantities that change in relationship to one another. A solution of an equation in two variables is an ordered pair that makes the equation true. You can use equations in two variables to represent situations involving two related quantities. The variable representing the quantity that can change freely is the independent variable. The other variable is called the dependent variable because its value depends on the independent variable. If you don't already have those in your words worth knowing section, you need to go ahead and get them into your notebook. All right, let's jump right in with example 1, identifying solutions of equations in two variables. And we're actually on example 1a. Y equals 2x is our equation. And then we're looking at the ordered pair 3x to see if that is a solution of this equation. So we substitute in, so that's our first step, we substitute in the two numbers to see if they make the equation true. So you need to remember that in an ordered pair, the first number is x and the second number is y. So in this ordered pair, 3 is x and 6 is y. So there you go. They go in alphabetical order if you have trouble remembering that. So where it says y in the equation, you're going to put not a y, but a 6. And where it says x in the equation, you're going to put not an x, but a 3. So then you check to see if 2 times 3 equals 6, and it does. So 3, 6 is a solution. Now let's look at the next one, 1b. So we have the equation y equals 4x minus 3. So 4 is the x and 12 is the y. And so where it says y, we put a 12, and where it says x, we put a 4, and then we work out the equation. So 4 times 4 equals 16, minus 3 is 13, which is not equal to 12. So 412 is not a solution. Let's keep going with example 2a. It says the equation y equals 128 minus 8x gives the amount y in fluid ounces of milk remaining in a gallon jug after you pour x cups. So that's got a lot going on there, but we can figure it out, I'm sure. So example 1a says identify the independent and dependent variables. So an easy way to think about this is just remembering what those two words independent and dependent mean. So independent means it does what it wants, and dependent means that it depends on the other variable for its value. So it says because the amount y remaining depends on the number x of cups you pour, y is the dependent variable, and x is the independent variable. So if you pour a certain number of cups of milk, then that determines how many cups are remaining. So that's why y is dependent. It's dependent on how many cups of milk you pour. Moving on with this same equation, but it's part B. It says how much milk remains in the jug after you pour 10 cups. So remember that 10 is our x variable, and because that's the independent variable, and the other variable, which we don't know what it is, that's what we're finding out, is going to be y. So we take 128 minus 8 times x. So we write the equation first, and then we substitute 10 for x. So 128 minus 8 times 10 is 128 minus 80, and that equals 48. So y equals 48. So there are 48 fluid ounces remaining. Here's a really important key idea. Tables, graphs, and equations. We can use tables and graphs to represent equations in two variables. The table and graph below represent the equation y equals x plus 2. And it talks about independent and dependent variables. And so these are tough concepts sometimes for kids because those words sound so much the same. So what you need to remember is that the independent variable is the one that depends on the other one, and it always goes on the x-axis. So independent goes on the x-axis, and dependent goes on the y-axis. You also need to remember that if you have time in a problem, it is almost always on the x-axis. It is almost always independent because time moves on no matter what we do. So it is usually independent. You might want to write these notes in the speaker notes in your notebook. So you can see here that all we've done is we put in 1 for x into our equation. So 1 plus 2 is 3, and then 2 plus 2 is 4, and 3 plus 2 is 5. And then that gives us our ordered pair. And then we plot those points. We go across 1 and up 3, and across 2 and up 4, and so on. And then this is an important study tip. It says when you draw a line through the points, you graph all of the solutions of an equation. So it's not just the dots, it's all of the numbers in between. Let's take a look at example 3, writing and graphing an equation in two variables. An athlete burns 200 calories weightlifting. The athlete then works out on an elliptical trainer and burns 10 calories for every minute. Write and graph an equation in two variables that represents the total number of calories burned during the workout. So the total number of calories burned, that's our dependent variable. So that's going to be on the y-axis, and that equals the calories burned lifting plus the calories burned per minute times the number of minutes. So that's our independent variable, which is going to be on the x-axis. So it's kind of important to know what's going where in your final product. So let C be the total number of calories burned and M be the number of minutes on the elliptical trainer. So when you take it from the words down to the equation, it looks like this. C equals 200 plus 10 calories burned per minute times the number of minutes that this person works out. We have no idea how long this person's going to last. To graph the equation, first make a table, then plot the ordered pairs, and draw a line through the points. So here's our equation. We start putting in minutes. So if the person works out on the elliptical for 10 minutes, then we put that in for the M. So 10 times 10 is 100 plus 200 equals 300. So our ordered pair is 10, 300. And then we can graph that. And then we do the same with 20 and 30 minutes. And then we draw a line through those plotted points. Here's our next key idea. You can model many rate problems using the distance formula. Distance equals rate times time, where d is the distance traveled, r is the speed, and t is the time. When you are given a speed, you can use the formula to write an equation in two variables that represents the situation. Speed is an example of a rate, so that's important that you recognize that. So to find the distance traveled, d, multiply the speed, which is r, by the time, which is t. Speed is the same as rate. Now, I am going to tell you now that you're going to use this distance formula for a lot of years, so you need to probably go ahead and commit this one to memory. So d equals rt. Example 4 is our real-life application. A train averages 40 miles per hour between two cities. We're going to use a graph to show the relationship between the time and the distance traveled. Method 1, we can use a ratio table to make our graph. So it says you can use a ratio table and multiplication to find equivalent rates, then plot the ordered pairs, time, distance from the table, and draw a line through the points. So again, time is x, distance is y. And we need to be sure that when we're looking at our problem that we see that miles per hour is a rate. It is not a distance and a time separately. That word per joins those two together and makes that a rate. That's important. So you'll see miles per hour, feet per second, things like that. Those are rates. So let's look at it. If the train is going 40 miles per hour and it travels for 1 hour, then it goes 40 miles. If it travels for 2 hours, it goes 80 miles, and so on. So we've just put in some times here, and then we can go ahead and plot those points: 140, 280, 460, and 6, 240, and then we draw a line right through those. Method 2 of doing the train problem, instead of using a ratio table, we can use an equation in two variables. So it says use the distance formula. Remember, d equals rate times time, distance equals rate times time, d equals rt. To write the equation, d equals 40t. So again, that 40 miles per hour is a rate. We're going to use the equation to make a table. Then we're going to plot the ordered pairs and draw a line through the points, just like we did the last time. So if we put in d equals 40t, and we multiply that 40 times 1, then our time is 1 and our distance is 40. So our ordered pair is 140. And then if we change our time to 2 hours, our distance becomes 80. So our ordered pair is 280, and so on. Here's what you need to do next to finish this lesson. You need to be sure your notes are complete in your ISN, complete your Google Form questions, review your lesson if you need to, and complete your Big Ideas math assignment in your Math Spiral notebook. Be sure you submit that when it is 100% correct, not before, and track your progress on your playlist.